Let's turn to the Arab world. The sands are shifting, and how? Saudi Arabia is on a roll. It is now engaging with Egypt. The Egyptian president made a surprise visit. This is Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. He was in Saudi Arabia on Monday. He met with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia. This was their first meeting in months. They had a spat recently. So this is a significant turn. Also, Egypt is suffering an economic crisis, so the timing is important. Let's first tell you about the crisis in Cairo. This has a lot to do with the war in Ukraine. Egypt, like many other countries, is suffering a cost of living crisis. And it's suffering more because its currency is losing value. The Egyptian pound is falling. Its value has dropped by 50% in the last 1 year. And this is a country that depends on imports. The falling currency has devastated Egypt. It's looking for foreign funding. It got an IMF bailout last December, some $3 billion. It also got a lot of help from Arab nations like Saudi Arabia, Qatar and the UAE. They pledged $22 billion to help Egypt in 2022. $22 billion. Riyadh alone has invested more than $6 billion in Egypt in the last 1 year. But then it made an announcement. This was in Davos at the World Economic Forum in January this year. This is what Saudi Arabia's finance minister said, and I'm quoting, "We used to give direct grants and deposits without strings attached, and we are changing that. We are working with multilateral institutions to actually say we need to see reforms. We are taxing our people. We are expecting also others to do the same, to do their efforts. We want to help. But we want you also to do your part." Saudi Arabia basically said it would give money, but others should do their bit. And Egypt saw this as a rebuke. And to understand this, it's also important to understand Egypt's history. It has been in economic trouble for decades, since 1952, when Egypt saw its first military coup. About a third of its population is impoverished. And Cairo has been using subsidies to paper over the economic cracks. And Saudi Arabia has been helping it. Perhaps it's tired of paying for the Egyptian government's failings. The Saudi minister's statement led to a war of words in the media. Saudi academics slammed the military rule in Egypt. The Egyptian media, close to the government, shot back at Saudi Arabia. They said people who recently became rich because of oil money had no right to criticize Cairo. It all got a bit ugly. And since then, President al-Sisi of Egypt has been trying to diffuse tensions. His visit to Saudi Arabia yesterday could be one more step in that direction. They haven't declared what they discussed, but al-Sisi affirmed the depth and strength of their bilateral relations in a social media post. Which brings us to our next point: Arab unity and Saudi Arabia's role in it. We've mentioned the momentous changes taking place in West Asia in recent weeks, starting with the China brokered deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran, then the impending normalization of ties between Damascus and Riyadh, and the plans to reinduct Syria into the Arab League. Now, tensions between Cairo and Riyadh, however minor, are also being ironed out. And everywhere you look, it seems Saudi Arabia is at the center of this realignment, which also begs the question, why? What is Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman planning? He's been shifting the kingdom away from its traditional allies in Washington and forging new ties with China and Russia. Case in point, the recent oil output cut. Just this Sunday, the OPEC Plus oil cartel slashed global oil production again. Saudi Arabia and Russia are both part of this group, OPEC Plus. The move will help Russia, which uses oil sales to fill its war chest. And Saudi Arabia will also profit from higher oil prices. When all these moves are considered, it seems Saudi Arabia under MBS is looking out for itself. It seems to be forging a new world order, one where Arab nations under the leadership of Saudi Arabia will have a greater say.